Welcome everybody to my latest video. So for this video, I thought I'd introduce you guys to the Capcom CPS3 hardware. Now, I guess you could consider this an explanation video regarding the CPS3. If you've watched my videos, or if you're into the arcade scene, you may have seen a video I posted a while back. Probably about 2 years ago. It was, I believe it's titled Explanation of the CPS2 Hardware. Maybe I'll put a little segment right here in the corner. If not, at the end of this video, I'll have an annotation link so you could watch that video. Now, the CPS2 hardware, if you remember or if you don't know, that is actually one of my most favorite, or I guess should say it's my favorite piece of arcade hardware. If I could only collect one system, it would be the Capcom CPS2. Love that system, and I'm kind of just giving you a brief replay of CPS2. But yeah, you know, you had an A board, you had a B board, and the B boards were very futuristic looking. I mean, very, very nice, clean, you know, kind of just something you'd see out of the future. And of course, depending on what A board you have would depend on which B board you could play. So for example, a USA A board could play both USA games and Japanese games. You had, I think it was a gray Asia board, or you know, a gray Asia CPS2A board, and that could only play Asia games, so you couldn't play this Japanese game. And each region had a color. USA was blue, Japan was green, I believe Asia was gray, Mexico I think was yellow. So the hardware was very, very nice. Some great games came out on the CPS2. So after that, Capcom decided to release their next piece of hardware, which was the CPS3. Now, usually this would come in a metal case. One of the first videos, I think in the first year that I was on YouTube, I actually had a video. It was my CPS3 hardware, and it came in, you know, a nice metal case to protect everything. Maybe I'll put a link to that video too. But, you know, as you can see here, I got two CPS3 boards, one here, one over there, no case. Now, whereas the CPS2 hardware was just a basic, you know, a giant cartridge, CPS3 was different. Besides the motherboard, the games actually came on this small type of cartridge right here. Now, as you can see here, I got Street Fighter 3 New Generation. It's the same with that one over there. But in addition to this cartridge, you also needed the CD. And the CDs came in, you know, just like a regular CD case. You know, a little bit of artwork. Was this anything, I think? You know, there's the CD itself right there. Some Japanese writing, I guess, you know, if you had an American system, it would be in English. Let's go ahead and put that back. So, it was kind of like, you know, an old Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo cartridge and, you know, a new CD type game. So it's all in one. Now, of course, the cartridge would fit into there, and although I don't have it hooked up, you'd have a CD player. And the CD player, nothing fancy. There you can see, compact disc, and the CD would go in there. Now, coming off the popularity of the CPS2 hardware, which had tons of games and tons of great games, you would probably think, well, CPS3 has got to have a ton of great games. Unfortunately, no. It only had 6 games and 6 out of 6 are fighters, I believe. I could be wrong. No, they're all fighters. There was Street Fighter 3 New Generation, Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, JoJo's Venture, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Warzard, also known as Red Earth. So, yeah, there's only 6 games, and then they abandoned the hardware. I believe, I can't remember what they released their games on next. It may have been the Naomi, but unfortunately, the CPS3 just, for whatever reason, they abandoned it. Now, here's the thing. Just like the CPS2, which would suicide when the battery dies, CPS3, same thing. Inside the carts, there was a battery. The battery dies, the game suicides, you're left with a brick. Now, think about something. Were laws different back then? How is that even legal to release something and you tell your customer, yeah, you're going to like it, but it will die. It's going to die in, maybe 5, 6, 7 years. But send it to us and we'll replace the battery, but we're going to charge you for it. Or if you try and replace the battery, well, we're not going to, touch it again after that. If anything goes wrong, tough luck. So, we're the only ones that can, do this process for you. Think about that. What if you bought a car, say from Ford, and the dealer tells you, well, 5 years the battery's going to die. You have to take it back to us where we will charge you money to replace the battery. If you try and replace the battery yourself, your entire warranty goes out the window, and we don't ever want to touch your hardware again. Or your car, in this case. So, yeah, very weird. Now, here's the other thing. When you wanted to change games, if you thought changing games on the CPS2 hardware was somewhat, not necessarily difficult, but rigorous, CPS3 could have been a pain in the ass. So, let's say you got yourself a nice CPS3 board. It totally works. You bought this. You're playing some Street Fighter 3 New Generation. Now all of a sudden, you want to upgrade and you want to play Third Strike. Well, guess what? You cannot do it on this particular board in this particular situation. The reason being are these cards right here, these SIM cards. Now, the aftermarket for these cards, you're going to pay obscene amounts of money. People charge a lot. There's a secondary market that makes copies. I don't know if you want to call them bootlegs, but they're much cheaper. And here's the thing. You see you got 1, 2, 3, and 1 right here. Well, this can only play Street Fighter 3 New Generation. If you want to play Third Strike, not only do you need another SIM card here, but you need possibly 1 or 2 more SIM cards here. 1 here and 1 here. Now, why is there a difference between the SIM cards? Well, these SIM cards came in 3 different formats. Hold on 1 second. Let me... just checking something out here. Anyways, they came in 32 megabit, 64 megabit, and 128 megabit SIM cards. And depending on which game you wanted to play would depend on which ones you had to input. Now here, this is only where the 64 goes. Now we have New Generation, and this board has a 64, 128, 128, and this one would either be a 32 or 128. And I can see right now that it is, in fact, 32. So if I wanted to play third strike, I would need an additional 64 right here. I would have to take this one out, put in 128, then I would have to put in another 128 right here. Now you see we have another slot right here. As far as I know, no games use that slot. I can only imagine that was for, you know, possible future use. Now, what does a SIM card look like up close? Well, I'll show you. Now, this is a reproduction SIM card I got. I actually bought this from Darksoft. He makes repo cards, reproduction cards. But, you know, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, these at the time of purchase, I think I purchased them for $45 each. If you were to try and find those on eBay, the 128s, you're going to be paying a lot more than $45. In fact, this was a good price. And I think he's probably going to raise the prices again if he ever decides to release another batch. But either way, his prices are better than the secondary market on the originals. So, you know, this little thing right here, these basically decide if you're going to play the game that you want to play or not. So, let's say you want to, you know, here you are, you know, you own an arcade, you want to upgrade. I don't know if Capcom sent you the additional SIM cards originally or if you had to purchase them. So, who knows? But let me show you something right here. Okay, so I had just processed this video and I was getting ready to put it in my storage until, you know, I decided to release it, and I realized I forgot to mention something very, very important. At least I'm pretty sure I did. Now, when dealing with the CPS3 hardware, you have to prepare that if you're going to start buying yourself CPS3 games and hardware, you need to prepare yourself to buy multiple motherboards. That was weird. My camera just... Never mind. Okay, anyways. As I was saying, here's the deal. The CPS3 motherboards are notoriously known for using cheap volume pots. Right here. It's this sucker. This is how you control the volume. You know, move it left, right, turns the volume up and down. Now, if you're going to hook this in a cabinet and you decide to use these RCA outputs for your volume, no problem. You'll be fine. Okay? If you're going to use your volume output to your speakers via the JAMA connector, the JAMA harness, these things, there's at least a 50% chance you're going to have a bad one. Like I said, these motherboards are known for the cheap pots that Capcom decided to go with. And what happens is you'll be playing the game, focus in right there, and the volume will just decide to drop. For no other reason. You'll come in here and maybe you'll decide to move it left or right. And, you know, you raise it up, and then you can hear it. The next thing you know, your volume is blasting through your speakers. So the level of volume you have will actually fluctuate. The best thing to do is, you know, you find a volume level you like, and what you do is when it goes down, you just go in and kind of just tap on it. And hopefully that will get the volume back to where you want it to be. Now, as you've seen, I have two CPS3 boards. The one that's in my cabinet right now is much better than this one. I've gone up to a week without having any issues. Now, you know, I think the lowest I'll go is, you know, 30 minutes. But, you know, like I said, it just all depends. So, yeah, just prepare yourself. You know, even if the board is guaranteed working, there's a good chance, or there is a chance, the seller knows there's an issue, and they can just say, well, I plugged it in for 15 minutes and there was no issues. And this is after you tell the seller that you plugged it in for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden there's an issue. So yeah, it's it used to be back in the day that if you wanted to get a spare motherboard, you can find one cheap on eBay with no sims, no game, nothing, just by itself. And now it's hard to come by those. Those seem to have been snatched up off the market. And now all you have are complete sets. Whether it's Street Fighter 3 New Generation, Red Earth, Third Strike, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it just seems to be complete sets. So, yeah, just prepare yourself for that. Another interesting thing for this motherboard, instead of using a standard kick harness, they decided to, attach these wires from right there. Okay, weird. And then this one, I don't think this seller was really knew too much about games, but yeah. You can see they put a strap on there. Please don't remove belt. It's just a cheapy belt. I don't know why. Just thought that was funny. Probably afraid that someone's going to remove it during gameplay. But yeah, just thought I would mention that. Not sure where I'm going to put this section in terms of where in the video that's already been recorded. I might have to cut in someplace, but yeah, if you're going to get yourself CPS3 hardware, just be prepared. You might be saying, well, why don't you just replace the pot? Well, apparently that's very hard to do. Not quite sure why. Apparently the type of potentiometer, God, I can never say it. The type of pot that they used was very low quality. That sounds incriminating. So yeah, there you are. So now back to the rest of the video. Hopefully you can focus in. There we go. But yeah, CPS3 sim layout. I found this online right here. And then you can see what cards you need for which game you want to play. Now right now, I got this format here. The 128, 128, 32, and the 64. Now of course, Third Strike, you need 4 128s and 2 64s. So yeah, it's not exactly fun when it comes to changing these games. Now what else can I show you guys here? Right now, I mean, this video is probably a lot shorter than my CPS2 video. The boards themselves, nothing really fancy. This one's obviously had some work done to it, but no biggie. Yeah. Now the reason I got this is I decided I want to, play some Third Strike. And unfortunately, finding a Third Strike board, even if you do find one, it's going to cost you at least, I'd say, $400. Excuse me. And that's just, just to play the one game. So I ended up buying 2 CPS2 boards. That way I can take the SIM cards, combine them together, so I'll have enough to play Third Strike. Now in a future video, I'm going to show you something I'm going to do. As of right now, I plan to get the Dark Soft BIOS. If you don't know what that is, basically it's playing every CPS3 game using one cart. So just like I had a video for the CPS2 hardware kit where you can play all those games, this is kind of the same thing. But, that's in the future. I'll eventually release it. I just don't know when. But yeah, so this is the CPS3 hardware. You got your board, get your CD drive, got to make sure you get all your cables. Got to make sure you have a cart that's not bad. And of course, got to make sure you have all the SIM cards you need to play the game that you want. So there you are. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try and answer them. My knowledge of CPS3 is nowhere near as good as my knowledge of CPS2, but, you know, I'll give it a shot. So there you are. Until next time.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.